Perfect. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I am Marlia Finch. I am the Assistant Director of School Nutrition here at the Department of Education. And this is the required startup training for FFVP for this year. And many, if not most of you on this call have already seen this a couple of times since this is not your first year operating FFVP. So a lot of this should be a refresher for you. If you are new to FFVP, welcome. You are in a good community here. So without further ado, we will get this meeting started. So at the department, we have three main priorities, and we fall under the student readiness priority within the department. And that is Tennessee Public Schools will be equipped to serve the academic and non-academic needs of all students in their career pathways. So as we all know, you cannot teach a hungry child. So we are the non-academic support base for students across Tennessee. Our mission statement here within the school nutrition team is to develop extraordinary school nutrition professionals and provide strategies to increase consumption of healthy school meals. So all of you school nutrition professionals on this call, we are here to help support you to overall help increase participation in our programs because increased participation helps everyone. And the objectives for today's call is to simply understand the importance of fresh fruit and vegetable, and then learn how to implement the program at the local level, and then understand how to submit your monthly claims for FFVP. All right, we are going to start off with fresh fruit and vegetable program basics. So what are the basics of FFVP? Well, there is a lovely handbook that USDA has made. Yes, it does say, I think it's 2015 or 16 on the handbook. That is the most recent handbook. I can show you how to find it after the presentation. I'll show you on the website. And it basically walks through all of the details of the fresh fruit and vegetable program. The overall goals for FFVP include expanding the variety of fresh fruit and vegetable opportunities students get to try new things. We want to increase the consumption of fresh fruit and vegetables, and then overall develop long-term healthy habits that will um, grow with students throughout the course of their life. All right, so how will FFVP operate? Well, you've already told us by submitting your application in TMAC, those 16 questions you filled out that painted the picture on how FFVP will operate for your school district and among your different sites that you've applied for. So simply just follow the steps in your application. And then if anything major changes on how you are administering your program, all you need to do is give us an email, send us an email, and we can update your application in TMAC. So we have everything reflecting what you are currently doing in your operations. So speaking of operations, I get asked a lot, well, what does that actually look like at the local level? Well, it can look a whole bunch of different ways. And these are the three primary examples that I pulled that I see often when I go out in school districts. So some school districts have school nutrition personnel that distribute the produce items to the classrooms. So in between breakfast and lunch, they may go and deliver FFVP items to teachers so they can distribute them to students when it's time for FFVP. Or sometimes it's after lunch that school nutrition will go distribute items to classrooms. So then the teacher can then distribute the items in their classroom at FFVP time. So that's just one option. Another option of how it may look for your site is that students may pick up the FFVP items at the end of their lunch period. So if you have a basket for each classroom, one student comes to pick up that basket and take it out of the cafeteria with them after lunch. So then the teacher has it when it's time for FFVP to be served in their classroom. That is an option. Students can come pick it up and take it back to their classroom. Or you may have the classes come to the cafeteria to pick up FFVP items, or they may send a student down to pick up FFVP items. So there are different ways that you can operate FFVP at the site level. All right, now we know how it's going to operate. Well, what can be served? Well, it's called the Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Program for a reason. So fresh fruit and vegetables can be served. You cannot serve canned, frozen, or dried foods. Low-fat or fat-free dips are allowed with vegetables only. So as a reminder, low-fat is considered 3 grams of fat or less per 1 ounce serving. And yes, I understand it is a struggle to find good tasting, low fat or fat free dips. You're not alone. That's across the board. I understand. But yes, we have to be mindful of those low fat and fat free dips only being served with the vegetables. And then no smoothies or other combination items can be served with FFVP. Again, like the basics of the program is to provide the fresh fruit and vegetable item as is, like what it is intended to be, versus mixed in with something. So you wouldn't be able to differentiate different fruits if they were all mixed together. So we want to keep them individualized for the students to try. And then cooked vegetables are allowed in FFVP, only allowed once a week though. If you are serving cooked vegetables for this program, you can only serve them once a week, and you must have a nutrition education component when you are serving that cooked vegetable. So that is the primary guidance when it comes to cooked vegetables for FFVP. You must have the nutrition education piece when you serve those items. All right, so we know how it can operate, what we're serving. So when can we serve fresh fruit and vegetables? Well, you have to serve them during the school day, but not before or after school. You cannot serve FFVP items during breakfast or lunch, so not serving during meal periods. And then you cannot serve FFVP during summer school. FFVP is intended for that traditional school year calendar to be served. So sorry, summer school is not included in the traditional school year. And who can receive fresh fruit and vegetables? Well, all the children who are considered enrolled in the FFVP school. They can definitely try these produce items. Again, those pre-K through 6th grade kiddos that are enrolled in the FFVP school. Also, teachers who are in the classroom can participate as a role model. So if you have great teachers that are willing to help serve FFVP items and they want to showcase, oh, these carrots are great for your eyes, and really help educate the kiddos on the importance of eating fresh fruit and vegetables, they are more than welcome to try the FFVP items as a role model within that FFVP snack period. And then these items are not intended for parents, community, or other school personnel. So again, those teachers who are acting as role models, totally cool. They can participate in FFVP and as well as the students. All right, moving on to the funding, budget, and equipment pieces of FFVP. FFVP is funded in 2 allocations per year. So on your award letter, you will see your total award amount. And then in that second paragraph, you will see how the allocations are broken out. So that first allocation period is July 1 through September 30th, and it's about 18% of your total allocation. And then that second period is October 1st through June 30th. And that's what, 88% of your total allocation. So that is how it is split. And I know you are looking for those 2 allocations in TMAC at the moment. Don't worry, they will be in there shortly within the next 2 weeks. We had some last minute allocation changes because schools dropped off, all that. Don't worry, your allocations will be split in TMAC within the next 2 weeks, so be on the lookout for that. And yes, all funds must be used or obligated by the close by date of those allocation periods. So if you have extra money that you have not spent by the end of September, sorry, you don't use it, you lose it. Those dollars do not roll over into that second allocation period. So please be mindful of that while you are working through this first allocation period. All right, so speaking of budget and how to budget for FFVP, you can use the budget included in our FFVP toolkit on our website. And again, I will show you that after the presentation. I can't switch back and forth because it's technology. It doesn't like me doing too many things at once. And then SFAs, you must spend or try to the best of your abilities to spend at least 90% of your total allocation in order to be considered to operate the program next year if you apply. We just want to be good stewards of our federal funding because the more participation we have, it looks good on our part for USDA to continue to provide FFVP funds each year. If one of your sites overspends its allocation amount, if you do not reach out to us prior to submitting that claim that, hey, sorry, we've overspent, can you move some funds between sites? That site is only going to be reimbursed for the allocation amount. So if you are overspending on a site, you submit your claim, and I don't have money, you're only going to get what your allocation is. And again, if you do need to move funds between sites, you get to rocking and rolling with FFVP, something happens, you didn't get to operate it as many days as you had liked, you can always move funds around within your sites, within your SFA. All you need to do is send me an email and I will be happy to work with you to make sure your money gets distributed how it needs to. But again, you have to communicate. I cannot read your mind once you submit your claim and know that you wanted funds moved. All right, so how to spend those FFVP dollars? Well, you have operating cost. That will take the bulk of your dollars. So you have your food items, your non-food items, such as napkins, serving bowls, the trash bags, Ziploc baggies, that sort of thing. You have delivery charges, you have your direct labor, and then you have indirect labor. So all of that can fall under operating costs. And then you have your administrative cost. Be mindful, if you are using administrative cost, you cannot go over that 10% threshold for the total allocation. So you cannot spend more than 10% of your total allocation on administrative costs. So what would be considered administrative cost? Well, you can consider your durable equipment, such as like a refrigerator, a produce slicer, carts, coolers, that sort of thing as equipment, and that would be considered an administrative cost. However, if you are buying durable equipment with FFEP dollars, you must get that approved prior to submitting a claim for those items. Don't worry, hang out a second and I will tell you exactly what you need to submit to us in order to get those equipment pieces covered by FFVP. Also, indirect labor can be considered administrative costs. So the staff that's planning FFVP menus, submitting the claims, maintaining records, that sort of thing. But again, be mindful of that 10% threshold of your total allocation if you are putting the indirect labor in your admin costs. I always encourage to go ahead and just put it in operating costs so you don't have to worry about that 10% threshold. All right, speaking of equipment and fresh fruit and vegetables, where to start? So first, you need to, yes, you will get a copy of this presentation. It is being recorded as well, so you will have the recording to back up the PowerPoint. Yes, so where to start with your equipment? First, assess your needs. Do you need equipment for FFVP? If you do, great. What do you need? And have you gotten it approved? So you will need to reach out and get it approved by one of us at the state agency prior to submitting your claim for equipment pieces. So items that you are wanting for equipment will need the written approval. So like anything like a refrigerator, produce slicer, carts, or coolers, again, anything large will need to have written approval prior to purchasing. And then again, those will be filed under the administrative costs with your monthly claim. And I always encourage to assess your equipment needs with this first allocation, just because you have a shorter time span to spend that money. And that way you can really gauge that 10% threshold for your admin costs for the total allocation if you go ahead and spend those funds on equipment right off the bat. So you do need to plan through September 30th how to utilize the first allocation of funds to the maximum extent possible. I know school is starting for many of you. Some of you, next week is when you start. So really getting prepared for this first allocation for FFVP will help start you off on a good fit for this school year. Okay, so you decide you need a piece of equipment for FFVP. Well, what does that look like? How do you do it? All you're going to do is email me, marlia.finch@tn.gov, the following information. If you forget who to send it to, don't worry. Everyone on staff knows where it needs to end up. So in that email, I will need your FFVP site name. Why do you need this equipment? Why is your current equipment not adequate? How will you ensure the equipment is only used for FFVP? Or if you are using it for other nutrition programs, how are you going to prorate the cost? So is it a 50-50 split? Is it a 25-75 split? This is where you will tell me that information. And then how many times a week do you serve FFVP? This just helps to paint a good picture on the justification as to why you need this piece of equipment. And then I'll send you an email back saying approved, and then you will save that email as your proof of written approval prior to purchasing that piece of equipment. All right. So speaking of purchasing things with FFVP, so procurement, it's everywhere. It's everyone's favorite thing to do. Competitive purchasing is required as with all of our school nutrition programs. Micro purchases can be used to obtain local produce if it's easy to find some fun produce items that way, you can use a micro purchase method as long as the appropriate procurement procedures are taken. So as long as you are following those guidelines for micro purchases, cool, great, love it. And then also, as you are purchasing items and planning to purchase items for this program, it is the fresh fruit and vegetable program. So be sure you are planning to serve both fruits and vegetables. All right. So what records do you need to maintain at the site level or at the central office to back up your monthly claims? Because we will review these items on an administrative review. So what are some things we're looking for? We're looking for invoices of operating expenses, such as your produce, your supplies, your records of the direct labor. We're looking for invoices and records for administrative expenses, such as the indirect labor and equipment purchases. Again, that email, that would be a document we would be looking for that written justification and approval of the equipment piece. These are best practices that would be great for you to document just to showcase how you run your FFVP program. So information on the publicity. So what kind of advertisements are within your school to show that you are offering fresh fruit and vegetable program to these kiddos? Do you have a copy of the transcript of a morning announcement maybe? Maybe you have a principal that likes to announce what the fresh fruit or vegetable item of the day is. There's lots of different ways that could look at the site level. And also information to show how the submitted plan, so your TMAC application, how was it implemented? Do you have FFVP production records for the days that you served? Do you have the nutrition education materials that were used for different days or tally sheets of the kiddos that tried it? There are lots of different documents that you could use to keep on record to help back that monthly claim that you're submitting every month. Speaking of these claims, FFVP is a reimbursement program. So that award letter that you got, the total allocation, it will be reimbursed up to that amount. And you will be reimbursed through submitting claims, just like all of our other school nutrition programs. So when do you submit these claims? Well, it's highly encouraged to get it in as soon as possible. The quicker you can get it in, the quicker we can reimburse you. So within that first 30 days of the claim month. So if you have claims for August, try to get it in by the end of September. That way we can reimburse you and you are nowhere near that late date. So anything beyond 60 days after that, the end of the month, of the claim month, is considered late. So for example, your August claim absolutely needs to be submitted 60 days after that last day of August, or it would be considered late. And as a reminder, you are only allocated one late claim per 36 months across all school nutrition programs. So that includes breakfast, lunch, snack, SSO, FFVP, everything. You only get one late claim per 36 months. And I do not recommend using your one late claim pass for FFVP, just because those claims typically are nowhere near what a standard lunch claim would look like for you. So just be sure to get those claims in within that 60-day mark. And typically, we're pretty good if it's getting close to that 60-day mark and we've noticed you haven't submitted your claim for that previous month or previous 2 months at that point, we will send you an email reminder. So by you helping us get those claims in early and then us helping you by sending out reminders, hopefully we can avoid any of those late claims. All right, so what do you include in your monthly claim? You will include all fruits and vegetables used during the month, so you purchase them and use them. Include supplies purchased for that month. You include operating labor and administrative labor if applicable. Again, that labor can go under operating or admin, and I highly encourage to keep it under operating. And then remember to hit submit for payment once you have entered all of your information, because if you do not hit submit for payment, we cannot review it and approve and accept your claim, and you cannot get paid. So if you get emails from me, I know a handful of you on here have gotten those emails before. It takes 5 seconds, hit the big red button that says submit for payment, and I'll be able to go in and approve those claims. Okay, so now I will walk through the screenshot version of what the claim process looks like from your end. So essentially, you log into TMAC like you would submit other claims, and you will hit claim FFVP. And then once you have hit claim FFVP, you will click the month that you are wishing to submit your claim for. Once you click that month, it will look like this. You will have 3 categories as to how to enter the information for your claim. The first category is the fresh fruit and vegetable costs. And you can enter the items or the amounts to claim. So it can be a very detailed claim, such as this example. It has line items on there, so apples, grapes, oranges, whatever it may be, entered as line items. Or you could do a simplified claim and just put your produce purchase and just have the total amount that you used for FFVP for that month for your produce items versus doing individualized line items. It does not make a difference to me either way that you choose. However, as long as you have the documentation at the site level or within your central office that you can back up these claims, we're good. So again, you can do a simplified claim or you can do a detailed claim. As long as you have the documentation on the back end, you're good. All right, so then you would just work your way down those 3 different categories to finish out your claim. So your operation costs with your labor, you can, again, have a detailed labor cost, so you can list out the employees and how much they are getting paid, and everything paid out through that. And then your operating costs that were not fresh fruit and vegetable items are definitely your low fat or fat free dips, your Ziploc bags, your trash bags, your napkins. Those would all go under operational costs under product description on the second part. So the small supplies. And then once you have worked your way through those 3 categories of the claim, you will go in and hit submit for payment. This is usually bright red and you can't miss it. So you'll hit submit for payment, and then that is when we get it. Also, while you are waiting for us to go in and approve your claim and get reimbursed, you can always check your total balance of FFVP dollars in TMAC. So if you go into that general claim page and you see all the months at the bottom, you have a grants details section. So it tells you which site, and it's split out in between allocations and how much money you have left, as well as how much you have spent. So again, that's a great way to check your balance. I will open the floor up, well, really the chat up for any questions you may have. I know I went through that rather quick, but again, this should be a refresher for most. And yes, for those who hopped on later, you will get a copy of this recording as well as the slide deck. Okay, great. All right. And I am going to share my screen real quick to show you where you can find the FFVP handbook, the toolkit that we have on our website, and one moment. All right. I will get back to the questions in a moment. So if you go on to the USDA webpage and you just type in Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Handbook, you will come to this page. And then you can click on the handbook. And there you go. You will have an electronic version of the handbook. Like I said, this is the current handbook. It does need to be updated, but the USDA has not updated yet. That's okay. But it breaks down FFVP into the program history, how to administer the program, what the funding looks like, the background of it, all the things, how it works. So if you are curious and you would like a good read, there is the handbook readily available for you. All right. And then I'm going to switch over to our school nutrition webpage. So if you go to our webpage under SMP resources, if you click programs, you will come across the Fresh Fruit and Vegetable program. And we have a few resources on our website to help with some nutrition education. We have a program toolkit. This will help with budgeting. We have a couple of one-pagers. We also link back to the USDA handbook. So again, some general information for FFVP, and then we have a handful of resources for the Fresh Fruit and Vegetable program as well on our website. And we had a question about DoD funds being used for the program. If you have a specific question, Kathy, send me an email and we can work through that on a case-by-case basis. But however, this is a reimbursement grant. So all FFVP funds that you are reimbursed for need to stay out of two pots of money. We're only using Fresh Fruit and Vegetable program dollars for this program. And then we have a question about buying bowls to use. Is there a size that we have to use, or can we use inserts? Whatever benefits your program works as long as you have it in your FFVP budget. There's not a particular size bowl that we are mandating anyone to buy to operate your program. Well, no, that's not as pretty as my other one, but that's okay. If you guys have any other questions or thoughts about FFVP, please reach out to us. We are happy to help you in any way that we can. If you wouldn't mind just to take a moment and fill out my evaluation link. If you can scan that QR code, great. If not, I will send the link to the survey in the recap email when you get the presentation and the recording.